Are you leaving? Okay, are you gonna be home for dinner? Okay. Anyways, what was I saying? Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome to another stale movie review. I feel like it's been a while since I've reviewed any movies, let alone a stale one. I just watched, not just watched, but recently watched The Sacrament on Netflix. That was one of those movies that I kind of kept passing over in the horror section of Netflix, and it looked mildly interesting, but I just always wanted to watch something more. Y'all know how that goes. Finally got around to watching it, and it is another found footage horror movie. I don't know what's wrong with me. Because I generally dislike found footage horror movies, but I thought this would be a good one to review on here, especially to kick off the month of October for horror movie reviews here. Because this is kind of a big deal. Kind of. It's like 75% of a big deal, okay? So I don't hate this movie. Actually, up until one little point, which I will talk about. It's not really a little point, but anyways, I'll explain it later. Up until one moment, I actually really liked this movie. I do still like it. I like this movie. Okay, so the list of found footage horror movies that I actually like has gone from 2 to 3. Wow. The movie is directed by Ty West. Ty. It's like T-I. Ty West. Whatever. Y'all know how I am with names. He is, the most notable movie I think he's known for is VHS, which I've never seen. I tried to watch that first one, and I've never felt dizzy or sick watching a found footage horror movie because of how shaky it was, but that one I definitely did. Anyway, so The Sacrament is a found footage horror movie about these like journalists that have, I guess it's like an online kind of news site that typically covers kind of controversial things, or they usually kind of go like undercover and investigate things and bring it to light. You know what I mean? Like, I guess investigative journalists, I guess. Photographer that they're friends with, they're either friends with him or he works with them. I don't really know. It doesn't really matter to the plot of the movie. His sister had joined a sober living community or something like that, they say. And like after she joins this, like the guy, Patrick, the photographer, doesn't hear from her like forever, and then he gets this letter from her inviting him out to the community she's living in called Eden Parish. And he's explaining it, it's just really weird because they take her out of the country and things like that. So naturally our two like journalists, our cameraman Jake and our kind of like main character Sam, are intrigued and they want to go and film and see what's going on with this place. And of course when they get there it's all very strange. It's in I don't want to make assumptions. They don't actually tell you where they're going in the movie, but they're flown out somewhere, and it looks like it might be somewhere in like Africa, just based on like the planes and stuff that I kind of saw. It looked like it might be in Africa somewhere, maybe South America, maybe. So they're flown out to this place, and you know, they're going into the parish or whatever, and there's guys with guns, and they're very wary about letting the guys in with the camera and all this sort of strange things. And it's kind of just like, what's going on here really then, if they're this concerned about this? And basically it's this community that these people have built, and they all follow this man who they just call Father, which immediately sends up a giant red flag in my mind. after, you know, walking around and meeting people and blah, 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 you know, you start to realize that this is pretty much a cult, as they're all kind of blindly following Father. And as the journalists interview people, you realize that they all like joined in, or they were like in desperate situations, you know, like pretty much anyone's story who joins a cult like this, you know, they feel like they're alone and they're in a very desperate situation and they have nowhere else to turn, and then somebody like Father comes along and invites them to join their group, and it turns out to be very, very, very bad. So more or less, we are watching a found footage movie about a cult, which kind of, it was really disturbing to me because I find cults very scary because it's a real thing. It's a really real thing. Yeah, great, Vicky. You know, I watch a lot of horror movies about like monsters and ghosts and things like that, but none of that really scares me as much as movies about like serial killers, about cults like this, because those sort of things actually happen and have happened in the world, and it's, you know, it's real. It could happen to anybody, really. So to me, that's very terrifying. And it's really sad in a way too, that again, that this actually happens and people feel like they have nowhere else to turn and they join these groups like this, and it's scary. It's scary because the leaders of these cults and these groups can make these people do horrible things if they wanted to, and these people a lot of times believe they're doing the right thing because a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are religiously charged, you know, and everyone wants to believe in a higher power. So that sort of power over people, like evil people like that holding this type of power over innocent people, scares me and makes me kind of sad. So I found watching this movie it was really disturbing, and in that way it was terrifying. Like there were just like a lot of moments in this movie where like my blood kind of ran cold, and I was just like, I was like cowering in a corner watching this movie. I was just really scared, and it's not scary in the sense that there's like jump scares and things like that. It's just kind of like that underlying nervousness, I guess, or tension. That you know that, I don't know, I guess disturbing and unsettling is the best way to describe this movie, and that's why I was so scared. By now you'll have had time to skip the spoilers if you want, and I kind of hope that you do. Which is why I'm kind of putting a little buffer in here. I kind of hope that you do skip the spoilers if you haven't seen it, because the twists in this movie are bone-chilling, I think. I find the idea of this movie terrifying, so if you don't particularly find that scary, you might not find the movie as scary as I did. But there's a point in the movie, the journalists, they get to interview the father, and of course it's in front of the whole congregation or the whole community, which they find strange. But after the interview, there's like a party thrown, you know, for the visitors or whatever, and this little girl comes up to Sam and hands him a note and just kind of like runs away. And I really love the way the actor acted through this. He just opens the piece of paper, and you just have to go watch it. I can't even replicate it, but he just opens the paper, and up until then they've been hearing all these things about how much all these people love Father and they love living in that community. It's the best thing that ever happened to them, and they'll never go back to the United States. and he opens this note and it just says, "Please help us." And literally I got chills. Actually, I kind of got goosebumps just like thinking about it now. That is like, it was just a really good twist in the movie, and it wasn't necessarily unexpected. It was just the way they presented it, just like that little girl kind of reading the note, running away, and the way he acts through it when he reads it and before he reveals it to the camera. It's just like, and he doesn't even say it, he just like shows it, and you're just kind of like, oh my god. Like like I already find cults scary and what they can do scary, but then you add in the fact that there are at least some people there that are prisoners there. Like, they joined and they've realized that this is not a good place to be, and these are not good people, and they are trapped there pretty much. And that is even scarier, like, just like they couldn't even make it, like, just when I thought they couldn't make it more disturbing and more unsettling, they add that in, and then my blood ran cold. So then from then on, it turns into the guys kind of just trying to survive because they're only supposed to stay a day, and then the plane is coming to get them and they get to leave. And of course, the next morning when it comes time for them to go, there are people that are kind of starting a riot because they want to leave as well. And they see these journalists as their opportunity to get out of there. And of course, people are freaking out, and Patrick's sister, Caroline, she's trying to make it seem like, you know, this is a bad thing because they'll be ripped from their families, but really, they're not really allowed to leave. Like, these people are not really allowed to leave. They're really prisoners. So I'm not going to talk about a lot else, you know, like kind of all hell breaks loose. And then we have probably what I found to be the most disturbing scene of the movie, which is, it very much is related to the Jonestown murder-suicide of, it's like 1977? 1978? It was in the late 70s, I know that. It very much mirrors that event. If you don't know about that, it's where the phrase, "don't drink the Kool-Aid" comes from, because it was like a cult pretty much. And the leader, Jim Jones, and his group of 900 some people, where they committed suicide by drinking Kool-Aid laced with cyanide. And so that's pretty much what happens. Father convinces these people that once the journalists leave, they're going to reveal their footage to, you know, the States, and then the army is going to come in here and kill them all. So they need to show the world that they're not going to be killed like that. So he convinces them all to drink this Kool-Aid. And it's a very kind of drawn out scene, but it's very disturbing because there's just like a range of emotions. You see the people that are still blindly following this man, and they accept the drink, kind of no questions asked, really, and drink it. There are some people that they look kind of my age in the movie, and they protest, and their families that are there convince them, and you can see they don't want to do it, and that's so scary. That is so scary. I guess maybe I just found it so scary because I put myself in, like, in my head I was putting myself in that situation, and that's terrifying, especially since there were people in the movie, as there were people in real life at this, you know, at this massacre that did not, like, when they were told that they had to drink this, they did not want to do it, and they were forced pretty much, or pressured to do so. And then of course there's infants, and they're obviously, that's why it's murder-suicide, because they're infants and they don't have a choice anyway, and they're just given this injection to kill them. And then some chaos ensues as well, as there are people that really don't want to drink it and they're shot down. And it's just, oh, it's scary. And I think the scene that's most disturbing is when finally everybody either has succumbed to the poison or has been shot down, and you just see like a big panning shot, you know, like big wide shot of all these bodies kind of just lying around, and some like lying together like with their families. And it's just it's really disturbing and really unsettling, and it really makes me scared because this has happened and this can happen again, and it's just really scary. There's a confrontation with the father. He kills himself, and Sam and Jake make it out of there. I'm not gonna explain in detail. There are other disturbing scenes that happen, just not just the mass suicide murder that happens with the bulk of the community. There are some other disturbing things that happen that I don't want to spoil in case you are watching this still. Now, the one thing that I was talking about in the beginning of this video, and it didn't make me dislike the movie, it just made me disappointed because I really like this movie. I think it was really well done, and I haven't been this scared watching a movie in a long time. So even though it was disturbing and it does make me very scared, I did enjoy this movie. I do enjoy this movie. It is a really good movie, except this one little plot hole, which is actually a giant plot hole. So basically, obviously this is a found footage horror movie. So that implies that the camera has to, at least the camera has to make it out of there for, you know, for us to be seeing it, because, you know, the premise of a found footage horror movie is somebody found this footage and they're presenting it to the world. So it can't just be like found footage, but then, you know, the camera disappears. You know, how did we get this footage? And obviously it's been edited together. So, you know, and the editing style for this movie is kind of like a documentary or like a investigative news report. There's subtitles and information about Eden Parish. So that implies to me that at least one of the journalists was gonna make it out. Like when we started the movie and I started to see like the titles of information and the subtitle, you know, like the lower thirds with the interviewees' names and things like that. That implied to me that at least one of the journalists makes it out with the camera. And at the start of the movie, we only have one camera, the cameraman with his video camera. But once they go to the interview with Father, Jake, the cameraman, asks Patrick, who is a photographer, he asks him to take some B-roll footage with his camera, which can take video, obviously. So then we've set up this second camera. So from that point on, we're watching found footage of two cameras. It's not just the interview, it continues on past the interview period. So now we've established we have two cameras. There are two cameras that need to make it out of there, or the footage has to make it out of there from both of those cameras for us to have this movie. The plot hole occurs after the confrontation with Father. Jake goes in to his office and Father has Sam tied up. So cameraman has his camera the entire time. Patrick's camera is in Father's office and it's kind of taking, it's in a corner somewhere and it's taking footage of like the whole room. So when you see it, you can see Father, Sam, and Jake. So it's going back and forth at this point. You know, we're looking at camera or footage from the second camera and footage from Jake's camera. Father kills himself, leaving Sam and Jake alive, which I don't know why you do that, I guess, but anyways. And of course, Jake unties Sam and they hightail it out of there without grabbing the second camera. The last scene we see of them in that office is them running out of there with Jake's camera. They leave the other camera on the table. I actually went back and watched it like 2 or 3 times to make sure. I was like, did they really just leave it there? They really just leave it there. They left it there, and then one of the gunmen, one of the mini gunmen that are kind of like protecting the parish says he's gonna burn the place to the ground, and he tells them to get out of there. So like kind of like the last scene in the movie basically is the two guys in the helicopter and they look down with the camera and you start seeing like the building smoking and being set on fire. So not only was that camera left there, it was destroyed. It wasn't just left there. It's not like, oh, okay, maybe we can pretend in our heads that somebody found the camera and they sent it back to the guys or whatever. Nope, it was not only left there, it was destroyed in a fire. It just made me disappointed because it's a really good movie. It's really well done except for that plot hole. I just cannot believe the editors of this movie missed that. Like, how did you miss that? Despite the huge plot hole, this is actually a really, really good movie, and I'm probably still gonna go purchase this movie because I really did enjoy it. I think I can live. I can't live with the plot hole, but it's just really well done and really disturbing, so I can live with that. And I'll just kind of, maybe I'll just skip over the plot hole every time I watch the movie. But yeah. So overall, this is a good found footage horror movie. So coming from me, I think that means you should go watch it. It is still available on Netflix, to my knowledge. So if you have any interest in going to see this movie, you can go check it out on Netflix. And if you do go watch it, come back and let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. And if you have already seen it, let me know what you thought of it in the comment section down below. Yeah, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more of my face and hear more of my voice. Thank you if you are subscribed already, and until next time, stay strange. Bye!